In every town, there's a name you don't say after dark, a stretch of road you avoid when the fog creeps in, an old, yellowing case file buried in a police department's basement, too old to solve, yet too haunting to forget. Stories whispered at sleepovers, campfire confessions, the neighbor who vanished, the man with no face, the unexplainable lights in the sky. These aren't just campfire tales. They're urban legends. And tonight we unravel the science behind them and the unsolved cold cases that often give birth to these eerie stories. Because sometimes the most unbelievable legends start with the truth. Urban legends are the folklore of the modern world. Tales that feel too chilling to be real, but linger in the back of our minds like a warning. They survive through word of mouth, grainy newspaper clippings, and ghostly online forums. But what makes them so believable? Psychologists point to our innate survival instincts. We are hardwired to remember stories that evoke fear and caution, because those stories could one day save our lives. The stranger offering candy, the woman with no face in the mirror, the hitchhiker who was never really there. These tales tap into our primal fears, of the unknown, of betrayal, of death itself. And when a real event mirrors one of these stories, it only fuels the fire. Here's the chilling truth. 1 in 4 murders in the United States remains unsolved. These are known as cold cases, investigations where all leads have been exhausted, evidence has gone cold, and hope seems lost. But they are far from forgotten. A cold case is defined by its stagnation. It goes cold when time erodes witnesses' memories, when evidence degrades, when detectives retire, or when public attention fades. And yet, for the families, the victims, and the communities, these cases never truly die. The emotional toll is devastating. Birthdays pass, holidays come and go, children grow up without answers. An empty chair at the dinner table, a voice never heard again. And over time, in the absence of facts, stories grow. Speculation becomes folklore. Theory becomes myth. And urban legends take root. In 2003, a young woman named Danielle Carter vanished from a small Midwestern town. It was a rainy October night. She left a friend's house around 11:30 p.m., heading home on a lonely, wooded stretch of road. She never arrived. The search began immediately, but yielded no trace. No witnesses, no suspects, just a single muddy footprint, half submerged near a creek. As days turned into weeks, the case went cold. But the stories began. Children claimed to see a pale figure along the road, a shadowy man in the woods, strange lights where Danielle was last seen. To this day, her case remains unsolved. And in that town, the legend of Danielle Carter lives on. Why do we believe these stories, even when they seem impossible? It's because our brains crave patterns, especially in chaos. When confronted with tragedy, like a sudden disappearance or a brutal murder, we instinctively search for meaning, to explain the unexplainable, to shield ourselves from the idea that horror can strike without reason. And urban legends offer a kind of protection, a moral to the story, a reason to stay vigilant. Fear, it turns out, sharpens our memory. We're far more likely to remember cautionary tales, to pass them along, and to fill in the blanks when facts are missing. And no place is more fertile for fear than a cold case. But these mysteries aren't always unsolvable. In recent years, advancements in forensic science have breathed new life into cold cases. DNA analysis, once requiring large, pristine samples, can now identify suspects from a single degraded hair. Digital investigations have uncovered crucial evidence buried in old emails, texts, and GPS data. And the rise of social media has turned ordinary citizens into amateur sleuths, sharing theories, dissecting case files, and sometimes uncovering vital clues police missed. Dedicated detectives, both old school and modern, continue chasing leads long after the public forgets. Because for every urban legend born from tragedy, there's still a chance for justice. A predator who terrorized California in the 1970s and 80s with a string of home invasions, assaults, and murders. The case went cold for decades. But in 2018, using DNA from a genealogy website, authorities finally identified and arrested Joseph James D'Angelo, a former police officer. It was a triumph of modern technology and tireless investigation. Then there's Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student who vanished in 2004 after crashing her car on a remote New Hampshire road. The case remains unsolved, but online communities, podcasts, and independent researchers keep the search alive, refusing to let her name become just another eerie footnote. And the Delphi Murders, the 2017 slayings of two young girls in Indiana. A grainy cell phone recording, a haunting voice saying, "Down the hill." Years passed with no arrest until 2022, when a suspect was finally charged, though the mystery of motive and accomplices persists. Each of these cases sparked legends of their own, but real breakthroughs proved that even the darkest mysteries can be solved. For victims' families, closure is more than a court verdict. It's the reclaiming of peace, a burial with answers, an end to restless nights. And when a cold case is finally solved, whether it's a 30-year-old mystery or a decade-old disappearance, it ripples through entire communities. Fear is replaced by relief, and sometimes those old urban legends lose their grip. But not always. Some stories are too deeply rooted, too compelling to die. Urban legends endure because they serve a purpose. They warn us about danger, even if the details are fiction. They bond communities through shared fear and caution. They give shape to the unknown. And when rooted in real cold cases, they become a way for us to process grief, injustice, and the randomness of violence. Science can explain why we believe them, but only truth can finally lay them to rest. That's why it matters to keep these cases alive in the public consciousness, to speak the names of the missing, to revisit the unsolved, to challenge the myths. You watching this video could hold a forgotten piece of a puzzle, a face you once saw, a strange vehicle you remember, a rumor you heard years ago. Cold cases are often solved not by breakthroughs in a lab, but by ordinary people who refuse to forget. And while urban legends will continue to haunt our towns and our minds, behind every legend is a real story, a real person, and the relentless hope that somewhere, in the darkness, the truth still waits to be found. If you know anything about an unsolved case in your community, no matter how small or old, contact your local law enforcement or anonymous tip lines, because every piece matters. And sometimes, it takes just one voice to end a legend and bring justice home.